lot of great deals done for us as a firm. We've also found a company that we're likely to invest in the venture fund as well. And this is very glad to have him. So just want to say hello.
He never says his stuff. So, okay, thanks, first of all. Taking the time to come. It's a cool room. The crowd is amazing. Really what's happening is we've got the very point of the tip of the spear of CTV here to talk to people on the front lines. We read about CTV all the time. It's not punching above its weight. It's not in its infancy. Was that Mike? It's not my mic. Maybe this one? Okay, good. So anyway, we thought tonight would be a really great opportunity to really talk about the thing that we all buzz about, CTV, right? And there's some really funny pieces in here. But I thought versus having Adtech people talking about their solutions and all that, so we have a guy here who spends $15 million a year buying media. Not a lot of bigger people here. So Omnicom has been very generous in giving us two of the really industry leaders to come and join us today. Our friend Andrew Feigenson is now at Cantor Numerator and loaned us a really genius global data scientist. And we're going to start with that, which is just a level set of some of the data points here about where media is, different channels, different types, different ad spend. And Gregory's going to do that. And then we have a sponsor. We'll have a quick word from Sarity, which is very kind of them to buy our cocktails tonight. And it's a very rich room in here, so make sure to get some of that cash. We'll do the bios from the people, and then we have some back and forth. We're lucky enough to have NBC represented tonight, and Maggie's a hammer. She can talk about all this stuff. We'll try to get through like just a nice back and forth and leave room for questions and answers, and hopefully we'll get you out of here in a good period of time. So, well, the drinks run out at 1. So let's start with an introduction of Justin and Sarity Partners, our host tonight. Just a couple minutes. Thank you so much. You want me to do me? Everybody knows Progress Partners. We're an investment bank around 20 years old, makes the founder. There's about 40 of us now who started raising money for venture companies, tiny ones, forever ago. We love entrepreneurs. Been very successful. We've done Media Map and Integral F Science, and keep that list going forever. And from then, we said, well, we have companies, we might as well be bankers. So about a dozen years ago, we became bankers. My first deal was $6 million. Our last deal is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. We've caught on. So Adtech, Martech, Media, Data, there's about 10 bankers. Tim is here tonight. There's another banker, Sanjay is here tonight. A couple companies we've transacted with are here, which is great. Really fun. We continue to love the sector. We love entrepreneurs. We give you a big talk about what's happening in the economy. Don't freak out. This is a really good time to start new businesses. What you're going to come away from today is the idea that there's a lot of runway ahead in CTV. It's a revolution in video. These people can talk about it. So with that, a couple words. Hey, Mark.
Hi, everybody. So I won't take long because we've got some really interesting people to hear from, but I just wanted to thank you for coming today. Sarity Partners is a proud partner of Progress Partners. Broadly, we've been working together for a better part of a decade, and really just share the mission of putting great people together to do great things. And I think that is the bridge between the venture and the banking business, and what we do in our practice is help entrepreneurs and executives deal with all those trials and tribulations of building a company, selling a company, and then what happens next. And we're just excited to have this great group of people here together, and excited for the panel. So thank you all for coming.
Great. We'll go over your bio in a minute, Gregory. But for now, I think you've got a hot mic, and we can get to that slide. So everybody, this is Gregory Estes, who's the Chief Research Officer for Cantar's at Intel Division. Jesus is right. Would you get a rebrand at some point? So, there you go, the changing face of video.
Changing face of video. So these are just some stats to help the backdrop of dynamic shaping the landscape. This is based on Kantar's reported measured universe of media. Let's jump to the next slide. So, no doubt, the industry is committed to digital. So, we all know this. So why is this important? Because it's also an indicator of the event. So as we think of video, where is it heading? Obviously going to digital. So when we look at the broader landscape, video is the new black. So part of the discussion that we have with our clients is that 10 years ago we were talking about digital first strategies that's evolved to mobile first strategies. Today we're talking about video first strategies. It's the cornerstone. And what our clients are trying to do is really navigate that video marketplace. Because now it's far more complex, far more deeply involved, and a lot of unknowns and uncertainties in terms of just understanding. So when we look at this landscape, yeah, video outweighs the rest of the media landscape, including search and social, which have been kind of dominant cornerstones of the conversation. More and more it's moved to video. And then, of course, in the middle you have some of the traditional media plays, broadcast and radio. But I would even say that there's some indicators in terms of how we're going to think about video, especially in the linear space, that comes out of the other linear places. So, like print. There's one magazine that generates 80 million people in its audience. Does anybody know what that is? One of them is Reader's Digest, People magazine is the one that is number two. Is anyone know the second largest magazine out there?
Us?
Double A or B. So that's indicative of what digital landscape was. Who shaped that digital landscape? The consumer. So behind the backdrop of this is the top line macro. As we dive into the detail from Kantar's data, we're driving into the granular detail that's defining communication strategies. What emerges out of that are strategic implications in terms of how to reach the audience. So thinking about video, there's a dynamic play happening. So yeah, we have the left side, we have the linear landscape. Right side, we have our measured digital landscape. So the thing that's emerging in the linear landscape, we have clearly the downward pressure of the economic headwinds. Again, through July, year-to-date 2022. If you look at the economic headwinds, down 20% for network television, down 13% for cable TV, spot TV's up, political. So midterm elections, they're pouring dollars in. Come 2023, that evaporates. Probably going to see a similar trend for linear. It's still holding its own, still a cornerstone. But there's a lot of that's transpiring in that space. Then it comes to the digital side, what stands out? AVOD. So that's our measured footprint. That's the streaming signal that we capture, but there's a broader landscape beyond that. But it's indicative of that broader landscape. Twofold increase year over year. And then when you look at the other channels, mobile video, 13% growth, mobile app video, 7% growth, desktop video. Browser-based engagement, stepwise decline. Consumers are driving that. Sorry? Nobody goes to work anymore. So mobile, what does that also equate to? Location-based. Mobile also is engaging with different consumer segments. Amplifying the message. As you explain your communication strategy across each of these. But this is indicative of the complexity of the market. Let's go to the next slide. So, no doubt, this is looking at e-marketers' estimates for connected TV, the full landscape as estimated by e-marketers compared to our linear trend for traditional television. You can see those lines are going to meet anytime soon. Reed Hastings says the end of linear TV is the next 5-10 years. I can tell you, 5-10 years is pretty broad sprint. If I'm placing bets, it's like I have to navigate my brand through this inflection point. not 4, 5, 10 years down the road, but for today. So that might be a true statement, 5 to 10 years. I think again, thinking back to People Magazine, AARP, I think linear TV is going to emerge into a significant relevant, meaningful touch point for specific segments. It's not going away, it's just going to be more meaningful to specific segments. When we think of the connected TV environment, that's now changing the dynamic in terms of negotiation, in terms of segmentation and targeting, in terms of how we then integrate our communication strategies to be relevant across and amplify the brand's message across all those different video touchpoints. So, sure enough, yeah, the lines are eventually going to cross, and that's indicative of change in the marketplace. That's indicative of the point of no return. And I think that's why we're here today, is to understand, well, 5 to 10 years, very broad view, very long view. What are we going to do today? That's setting the backdrop on some of the macro dynamics. Keep in mind, there's a lot that goes into that detail. We can get into the granular level of detail on all of this, but yeah.
I love it. So I didn't do your bio, but I'll do it now, which is you're responsible for developing and advancing the fundamental framework and methodology for Cantor Numerator Ad Intelligence Platform.
Our methodology for estimating the
You're going to get rebrand after CES, and this will be easier. Is that correct? Jeez, Pete. So prior to this, you were agency person, worked at Havas.
Havas Media, data strategy, insights team, overseeing and working with every arm of the organization.
I love it. Please take a seat. 3 quick questions. You love your job?
Yeah.
You love the data?
Data is gold.
What about your boss?
Verdict is out.
All right. Andrew Pikinson, in your eye. Okay. So if we could, Maggie's on. I'm going to come and grab a chair, and we'll go through this. And Jeff and Kelly, I guess we'll just have everybody come up, please. So I'll do these. By the way, NBC, you guys need some. So please meet Maggie's on, Senior Vice President of Measurement, Strategy, and Operations, Advertising, and Partnerships, NBC UI. Where's the start? Your role is focused on developing and optimization. Yeah, that's hard. Holistic cross-platform measurement strategies and go-to-market execution that drive currency adoption and measurement innovation. You're based in New York. You report directly to Kelly, who has an equally long title, so we're not going to do that. You've been in the industry about 15 years. Prior to this, you led the measurement success team at Amazon Ads, where you oversaw development and promotion of Amazon's DSP and performance insights, campaigns, best practices, measurements, innovations across streaming, audio, and programmatic display. You also sat on IAB's video board of directors while at Amazon. Prior to your time at Amazon, you held senior leadership at Dentsu, Idea, Mega. So, also to Maggie's a doctor. Turns out she's not a medical doctor. She got her PhD in communications from
Newhouse, Syracuse. Yes!
So what she said here is if you have an ailment, she's happy to talk to you out of it. She can convince you you're not really sick. So that's the goal there. So Maggie, thank you so much. Then, really as I set this up, I thought what's great about CTV is what isn't happening when you read the trades. They really don't talk about how hard the agencies have had it. And I really think they're getting the brunt. And they're the ones who are figuring out CTV. I promise you, if it doesn't work, they get fired, it stinks. And a little back channel of that, when I got out of school as a brand manager, at an agency, and you're much too young to remember this, but you could buy TV with a yellow pad and a phone and spend X amount of millions of dollars in the morning and have lunch at Smith & Winski's and 5 cocktails, right? You made the same amount of money, essentially, with a small team, and from that spend, you would certainly know, your reach and frequency that you got. You'd have some kind of measurable results around the gold standard that everybody agreed to, right? And you could do some other pretty interesting things. Let's go back, right? And so now we're used to be able to buy the beach. Now they're one shovel at a time, or grains of sand, or putting all that together to come up with something you're gonna do. And I said, how do you put a skeleton together? You don't have skeletons. So there you go. That's how old I am. So with that, everybody, please, we're honored to have Jeff Calabrese join us today. Jeff's the Chief Investment Officer of North America on the Media Group. Jeff runs the investment unit at LNG in the space of New York. Lives in Connecticut, is a Yankees fan, and a Celtics fan. So he's responsible for the investment of $15 billion in client use. As part of his remit, Jeff is responsible for the development and implementation of OMG's go-to-market across all media channels, representing clients like AT&T, Apple, RBI, State Farm, and hundreds of other clients. Jeff and his teams are responsible for creating the best-of-class partnerships that deliver maximum efficiency and innovation to clients in an ever-changing media landscape. I like it. Well, listen, this is all good stuff.
You can skip my bio.
Kelly used to work at Yahoo. We'll eventually say that up video. So there, that's my only part of the day. Sorry. I apologize. Other day. So Kelly Metz, Managing Director of Advanced TV at Omnicom's Media Group's Activation Center of Excellence. And these two work hand in hand trying to figure out CTV from a top level and the implementation and really figure out that strategy. She works to establish best practices of television, including cross-platform video planning, measurement, and audience activation. She's a veteran of data software and media industries. Her expertise lies in enabling clients, co-workers, and partners to achieve their objectives by technology solutions. Well done. So this is, these people have their own abilities, as you can tell. And with that, really, I think the place to start here, the best place to start here is probably at the agency. Like Jeff, your clients, maybe you can go back a couple of years when CTV, OTT happened, like what was the conversation and what are they asking now? We kind of want to know that. If you just answer like how much of this is being bought upfront, which would be a good idea just to kind of get out. And then we kind of get into a bit of the sausage thinking, and we'll get back to the publisher solution. So your job is, as it relates to CTV.
Interesting. So Brett mentioned that we invest about $15 billion a year. Of that, a third of it gets invested in the upfront, which is in a specific time period. So you're reserving media upfront. Of that, this year, probably close to 40%, if not a little more, was in CTV. So that would, you can do the math, you're all pretty good at it, I'm assuming. But if you looked at the charts that you saw before, you can see that flip that occurred. Obviously, it was increased during the pandemic and people were looking for things to watch. One of the strongholds in linear TV that our clients are leaning heavily into, obviously, is the continuation of sports, right? And that live appointment view. Everything outside of that, from at least my perspective, and what I try and talk to my clients about is an appointment. So what do I want to watch, when I want to watch it, and it doesn't matter, right? So that's the challenge that we now face, and that's where I'm relying on Kelly and others to build systems that work together and allow us to stitch that whole process together. So when I talk to a client, I have to break it down to actually an individual thing. Like, think about the way in which you're consuming media, right? Because it used to be they would defend their jobs by simple reach and frequency measurements like you talked about, right? Like it was a pad, and then you went out, got lunch, got a good buzz on, and then finished the afternoon, right? And so that no longer happens. Yeah, it's a different time. So we're having to convince clients to change the way in which they invest, in part on gut, and I know you'll probably disagree with that a little bit, but and the reason that is the data isn't as readily available as when it's in the TV space. Whether you believed in the measurement of Nielsen or not, it was something we all agreed on and were able to transact on. And there's a big difference in that now. And so stitching that together is our greatest challenge. It's proving to clients that this is a return on your investment. We're getting closer every year, which is why you're seeing, not only is it intuitive to invest in that space, you're also being able to prove it out a little more each and every.
And then for either one of you, how much effort is being put into figuring out a client's first-party data, their 1P data, before they get into the idea of what they're gonna do. Is that happening? And this is a good.
Go ahead, we'll probably both take it.
So the interesting thing about television, obviously, and
You're not.
so the interesting thing about television versus the rest of the digital world, obviously, is we never had cookies, we never had mobile IDs. Okay, so when a client talks about their first party data, the obsession in our digital advertising world is to talk about cookies and addressability and these mobile IDs and how are you going to bring it all together. That's dead. Just consider that dead. Put in the rearview mirror. The brilliant thing about television where we are is it never existed. So we always had to find alternatives for how we were going to make television addressable. And so I really feel like in the television space, we're the leaders in consumer privacy, consented, first-party data matched directly with our video partners. I know that's a lot of big data words. I told you I'd use a lot of those words, Jeff. That's great. That's why you invited me, right? So the thing that we look at with clients is how are we matching and how do we create the safest, most direct path to match with all of our video partners in this space. And it's not going to involve third parties outside of the software realm. So if anybody invested in Snowflake, God bless you, you're going to make a mint because there's a lot. I didn't do that.
No.
I don't know if that's Snowflake, it's a bad word, but Snowflake and clean room technology is going to be the way that our industry engages in onboarding first-party data, moving first-party data to other systems, and making it transactable, and it's going to be privacy safe. And the chain of custody of consumer consent is going to be absolutely vital as we move through this new environment that exists today, to be honest. So if you look at what we're doing with first-party data with clients, we're already there. We're probably the leading holdco in clean rooms with Omni and our integrations that we've executed across NBCU. And I turned off the lights.
Just give it a whirl.
Just give it a whirl. So we have partners at MTU, we partner with Disney, we partner with Roku, we partner with every major player that we can that's ready to do this in the technology space.
Yeah.
And this is how we engage and how we move forward with addressability.
Can I just put a BS in that? So digital has never done this so far, and yet TV is going to be able to somehow safeguard 1P data and transact in a clean room. I don't think it's there yet. But I appreciate that
It's
you're
not there yet, but you have to realize that we're operating in a different environment. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The display was pretty shady.
Oh,
Okay,
so it's still,
shadiest of the shade.
you said it was.
In television, okay, yes. In television, we are working in only premium environments. NBCU is never going to do the wrong thing for the way a display provider. They have too much at risk.
Yes.
Disney is never going to do the wrong thing.
You brought up a word called premium, and I wonder if you two share, the three of you want to tell me what the heck premium video is. What's the definition? Anything?
I have no
The buyers will speak for it.
I personally have no definition for it. So I will buy according to my client's desires of what they consider premium. I'm as comfortable with buying creative content,
Yeah.
so user-generated content, so what your kids are doing on TikTok, as I would be buying something from NBC. That is me.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily all clients or all individuals. So one of the things I think is important in talking to clients and what makes our jobs a little more difficult is as we're moving television to a more digital space through CTV, the biggest issue that you run into is clients' expectations that it's going to behave the same as traditional TV, and we're not there yet. From both what I talked about, the scheduling, when we talk about scheduling, what is that, right? So that's one piece of it because it behaves in a digital way. Targeting, another way, so there was a lack of targeting inside of TV that is actually more advanced in the CTV space, or can be, if we're open to it. And then the measurement's different.
Yeah.
Right, so Kelly and I often have battles about how far do we have to go from a measurement standpoint, but then transparency as well, which is another thing, like in traditional TV, so what you would watch on NBC growing up, we knew exactly where and when something ran. In CTV, we don't have that clarity right now. And that's one of the things that we're asking for, but the clients are pushing back on, right? Like, they wanna know, hey, what am I surrounded by? When did I run? What's in it? So these are some of the things that are making it more difficult, but nothing that's not something we can't overcome.
Yeah, it's still early, right? So
Yeah.
things like brand safety, maybe in the context of everything on NBC being brand safe, but maybe not really want to add. We saw a great company at IAB, Nick and I and Eddie went to Amsterdam. And what we realized is context for everything we run is missing. We're still using, oh, it's sports, it's rom-com, it's whatever. But, I said before, I think we were talking, I'm like, so I want to do a sports movie, right? But it's, it's Brian Piccolo, Brian's song, and I'm like, oh, yeah, and then it's right when Brian dies, and Dale Sayers, like, probably not what you want to have a happy ad, right? But it's very hard to pull that apart, and maybe you could address what you think about how that may work as a publisher, getting them crispy around the context, and about premium, which is also interesting, and then I'm really kind of curious how you think, when we finish, will you tell the audience, and it's probably compelling, like, how the heck do you figure out, at the end of this thing, did I get what I paid for? If I have 10 kinds of currency, how do I do that? I know you have ideas of reach extension, and everybody here knows what that means, it's important, but let's get to that at the end, right? That's a good time for us. So, this is all, by the way, all gonna be done in a partnership, right? It has to work for everybody. It's great to have a publisher, which used to be called broadcasters, is what we call it when I came up. So, of college. A good clarification. Anyway, maybe you can touch a little bit about, okay, here's the things that we're building to make their job or their brand easier. We talked about a couple today.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I think you guys mentioned a lot of really valid points in terms of some of the challenges or opportunities for CTV, and we're very excited about CTV, as you know. Now, Peacock is only a couple years old, over 2 years old, but we're already gaining momentum in terms of the strongest upfront. Thank you, as part of the contribution as well, and doubling as spent on Peacock $1 billion this year. And so overall, I think from a planning data perspective, we had a little bit before that. There's going to be a lot of first-party effort, and then in order for the buyer to see holistically and the sizing audience across all different streaming platforms, we do need all the major streamers or publishers or broadcasters come together. I think a lot of the first-party data effort that NBCU has been doing, like working with different vendors like Conviva or Adobe, is to harness for the first time true ownership of first-party data as a streaming platform. And we are making the data interoperable, so we're not being a walled garden.
Yep.
But at the same time, in order for buyers to see holistically across all different platforms or different services,
But when you say
do
cross, you mean they have a view to your inventory?
more programming consumption as spent across different services. So that means services like those providers, they may already work with other networks as well. So in this case, we're actually would love to collaborate with the buyers to really move the market together in order to get that holistic view. So kind of helping us, helping you.
This may be great. So first off, I think we're running into a money economy, and you're going to see performance be a bigger thing, and you're going to figure out how to get them involved in other stuff, which is harder, probably.
QR codes are just.
Later.
But it is interesting that you say that though, like the ability with CTV and other areas. I mean, yes, you do some of it, but like dynamic ad insertion, like the possibilities are very different in the world we're going into than what they were historically.
Right.
Which brings a whole interesting other concept around the creative.
And you have a historical perspective, which is not to say wrong, but to say you're looking at how I lay out linear and complement it with CTV kind of at this point, right? Because you're saying 76% penetration, TV households have
I just checked, it's 84%.
Well, it went up since this morning. That's okay. Since we chatted this morning. So, but your crossover between where you are in streaming and linear is minimal, so much.
Yeah, we did our own analysis between Peacock and linear, because Peacock now is the next day home, just like traditional is a Hulu, but now Peacock is taking all the NBCU property on NBC and Bravo. So the overlap between linear and streaming is only 6% for Bravo.
And then, Omnicom has McDonald's local, so it's in your purview as well. So can you work with NBC to figure out how to buy geolocations in the same kind of a modality, or is this different plan, different time?
You can go ahead and do it, but I'll tell you how.
So, the thing about NBCU is because we are integrated in everything around, actually, that's not that hard to figure out based on historic ad exposure, where the local reach is going to be. So, we can. The interesting thing is, if you look at NBC's approach, sorry, you renew some difference. They're really only giving us one option as a currency to guarantee on, and I don't like that option. So it's a challenge.
I think somebody wrote a paper about that, and said that was the best one, and they chose it.
Yeah, they did, and they gave us one option, the entire one option. We need other options. If you really want innovation, and you really want to see the industry move forward, and you want to embrace all the capabilities of connected television, you can't have a monopoly on measurement. So we really do need options, and so that's the one struggle I have with NBCU is they're consistently pushing for one thing, and the reality is those choices have yet to be made, and my clients will have many choices.
And are you still evaluating measurements? So you think that we have iSpot, do you think there's also, I mean, you work with video, that's a measurement type. Do you think, Antar or Nielsen One's gonna eventually get there?
No, you're making the lights go.
So tonight, there's so much light coming off of these fake teeth of mine.
I think the light is always a signal. Callie, if I may just demystify, we are now pushing for one and we are true believers of multi-currency. We don't want to support one monopoly after eventually steering away from the other.
Yeah.
So but it's a process. As you know, we're on a transformation journey. So we're starting with one, and we're already vetting and working with others. So the goal is to make it more optional and flexible for the buyer.
And I think Kelly has some suggestions of.
We can compare notes. We have.
I think Maggie and I kind of know who makes sense at this point. That's the thing, is we have done so much in a year that there are very reasonable options. Yes, Video Wave is absolutely one of those options. You can transact today on Paramount on Video Amp, and guess what? It's a delight to transact on an advanced audience in your television. It's a delight. It's really what was missing. So if you look at what we want to do, those possibilities are there now because of these alternate measurement and currency capabilities. But, obviously there's room for improvement. And one of them is, as you mentioned, it's a collaboration. So we cannot get better at planning. We cannot create a more efficient upfront. We cannot get better at doing this on behalf of our clients without the direct cooperation of partners like NBCU and others, because there is no third-party monopoly in streaming. All the data has to come from the streamer to actually get this verified and do this right as an industry. So we love NBCU's approach. We want to see every major streamer do that, and then we want to march down the path toward what we had in linear, as Jeff described. We need to make this a brand-safe environment. There were great things about linear television that we are never going to give up.
Yeah.
Brand safety is table stakes. We need to know where we're running at the program level, and we need to know it for planning purposes. So there's so many benefits to getting this right that I really think that that's where this goes.
And you have an opinion about the OEMs, LG and Samsung, and what they're building out as well?
Well, I do, of course. I'm very opinionated, as Jeff knows. Every day he lives with my opinions. But there's an obvious purpose in terms of new forms of distribution, right? We're recreating the same thing we had before, as you've all seen. Oh, guess what? We're rebundling. Fun fact. We're now back to bundles again for consumers. It looks an awful lot like cable, doesn't it?
I feel like Flow is taking over TV as well.
It's all coming back together. So the interesting thing about the OEMs is they're the new, I was going to use an acronym, but I won't. They're the new cable and satellite. They own the consumer endpoint. So if I want to guarantee incremental reach, I need to have a relationship with every single OEM because they own the device, they own the consumer endpoint, and they have the perfect data set to guarantee incremental reach. They know.
Explain why that is, though.
So every OEM has a data set that basically fingerprints and watches. Amazon doesn't do this, so I will qualify that. Amazon doesn't do this, but Samsung, LG, Vizio, they all do this. They fingerprint, and Vizio, by the way, is the single largest data source in TV measurement today. So congratulations, Vizio, you're powering the entire industry. But if you look at what they're doing, they're fingerprinting linear television. They can do this because the legal aspects of this are possible in linear. It's scheduled television, they can still do this. They cannot fingerprint and measure streaming, okay? So this is unique to linear scheduled delivery. They know exactly what has been delivered on their television devices based on a fingerprint. That was better than the lights, that was good. So they know exactly what has been delivered to a television set, and then they can literally suppression target any television device that has seen a linear act, which means that everything I get when I buy from them is incremental to that initial linear delivery.
Thank you. And so the panel is talking about CTV. You have a bigger job because it's cross-platform, right? And you got to figure out how to get people to the bottom of the funnel where the TV may not be, right?
It's a bigger part of what I do daily now, especially when you're in economies like we're facing now with supply chain issues and inflation.
Yes. So, how do you, I mean, I can't imagine how you put this stuff together. I promise you, I'm such a fan of the work and think the agencies are underappreciated and underpaid, right? And
Me too.
well, Mr. Mann put the call to get you here, so I'm gonna say, that guy needs a raise. Give Kelly some money too. So, listen, truthfully, I start thinking outside of CTV, because NBC as a, Cablecom as a publisher has everything, including on the phone, right? So how do I start thinking about, there was a time when we got Mediation, you could put stuff in there and see something in that. Now, that's a ledger system, right? It just takes care of the accounting. But are there tools on the horizon? Are you building your own ad hoc? Like, how do
We're
that
building ours. So we have a data platform on me, which serves as our planning tool. Kelly's heavily involved in like channel planner, and then we have digital allocator, et cetera, including at home. We have specialty that harnessing all of these things, but the ability for cross-screen measurement across, I don't even call it cross-screen anymore, I just call it the world, right? It's like, it's measuring, you've gotta be closer to your clients than you ever have, right? Because you need to understand, like right now, for instance, what I'm dealing with is a lot of that upper funnel, so like upper funnel being CTV and television being cut, right? So clients taking the money out of that while still huge investments. So I want to diminish that brand awareness, right? Like that long, like fall in love with my brand. That's what the big screen's for, right? So television. To this more performance area of shit. I can't get things, I can't get cars in the lot, I can't get this. I need to go all performance, lower funnel, I need to transact that, and get what I have, and get it done. And that's all what we call performance media. And that's, having clients balance that right now is the most difficult part of my job, is saying, please don't be so short-sighted.
Right, and you still are doing brand awareness, but you're getting pushed into this thing. I think all of us in the room that have a media background or banking have this appreciation for performance marketing, because they've always said, I don't give a shit about the rate card in the phone. That's all that matters, right? So they've been using a different set of KPIs all along. And I kind of feel like when CTV came on, they're like, hey, we have this idea, do the KPIs work? And you're like, we've been doing that for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like you're going to see a balance. And oh, by the way, NBC, Doug's here, flipped, right? The goal there was, I can charge more if I can make the phone ring, right? So you can also sell an audience. It's like, whatever happens here, I can start now being more efficient with my inventory. And you as a buyer say, if it works, and everybody's happy. That's also part of your purview to help them understand.
Yeah, I would say performance comes both ends. One is targeting. So part of our integration, we're able to supply a lot of the direct media consumption or ad campaign data so that the buyers can have holistic view, at least in this case, NBCU as a publisher. Then the other side is all the first party data we've been gathering now with NBC Unified, we're able to build segments or custom segments based on over 200 million unique IDs. So that
Also a
can make,
leader in shoppable creative, so.
Love that.
so can directly drive performance through CTV activation. And then on the back end, through direct integration of clean room, we're able to do always attribution, either site visitation, offline foot traffic, or eventually sales and conversion.
And when you say shoppable creative, anybody over the age of 40 thinks of Jennifer Aniston's red sweater. We've been trying to buy that thing online for 100 years, and it's so far, maybe Herb hasn't figured that out yet. So, this is super cool. The parts I think about as, you know, as we're kind of getting towards, we get it a little bit, attribution, right? It's so messy for everybody. Even at Amazon, everything they saw, very different. Nobody gets to see the whole world, right? So Kelly, we're thinking about, you know, working with Jeff and Jeff's clients, and we did this whole big thing, and we bought this thing, and we proved we got it, and it worked. So how do you think about that being put into this?
What's interesting is attribution actually got easier over the last few years, because the interesting thing about Nielsen, the gold standard of television, was so heavily modeled. You were modeling off of 44,000 households. The data was worthless for attribution. I mean, it was literally worthless. So
For attribution.
for attribution, sorry, Jeff. I know we love Nielsen. But from an attribution perspective,
third parties.
he loves third parties. We do. We love third parties. We really need third party measurement and verification. So yes, but the interesting. There you go. There you go. And the interesting thing about what I just described with ACR data and Vizio and VideoAmp and iSpot is that when these data sets became available that were much larger, that were millions of households, then television could finally get its due, actually. Television could actually get credit for all of the lower funnel activity that it created, and you started to see tremendous correlation, and you started to see new businesses spring up that may or may not prove worthless that could tie television viewing directly to increased search behavior. Like, we're not talking about brand surveys anymore, we're talking about actual measurable results. So that correlation is real and happening, and it was almost easier to do than remaking and remodeling reach and frequency from historical linear, right? Because now we're dealing with radically new data sets, and the old person level panel is dying. We're looking at very large data sets, and it's changing the way we think about it. And attribution is everything.
Yeah, it's changing the way in which we're actually talking to clients. Right? Like I would much rather, at least, can't do it totally today, I can do a lot of it, but talk about outcomes.
Yes.
Right, like a definitive thing that a marketer or CMO at a company can say, my ad spend did this. So whether it's sales lift, site visits, test drives, like whatever it may be, like once I can start having those conversations in a real way, guaranteeing it, then the value in which we bring becomes very different.
Test and verify.
Yeah, the ROI is very provable, like return on ad spend, we call it. And that's what I think you're getting to a little bit, which is that, you know, we think it works, like how much does advertising actually create a conversion, right? Like,
You know when you stop, sales always drop.
yes,
That we all know.
you do know that, but you actually don't know what part of the decision making is it. And this type of attribution, anytime you can attribute an action to a media piece, we can start selling outcomes. Changes the model a little bit for an agency perspective and how I talk to clients and how we value media. I worry it might decrease the amount of billings we do, but
You can get paid in other ways.
in other ways, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I had this thought, maybe, you know, during COVID, for all the horrible things it did save the QR code, right? It really did. I mean,
The restaurant menu.
yeah, all the restaurant
Drink
menus,
water.
but now, you know, when you download a new streaming service, it's like verified through the QR code. Is there any inclination or sense that we're gonna use that QR code to get a coupon or drive to a
The
store?
QR code is here to stay. It's going to be here forever.
We have our shoppable ad format that will one of the
What's it
formats will
called?
rely, shoppable TV, that will
Shoppable.
rely QR code.
Are you
So
passing those
activate.
out today? We get 20% off it.
It's all digital,
Local
so
McDonald's?
Yeah, no,
no longer flyers.
Yeah, I was gonna pass out McDonald's, Happy Meal cards.
It's bigger than that, so that's right, I'm gonna use another fun term, Web3, my new favorite topic.
Can you come back?
No, it's good, but think about it. There is no identity in the next version of the internet that is cookie-based or mobile ID-based,
Understood.
right? If I want, as a brand, to be thoughtful about what I'm doing from a first-party data perspective, television is the single greatest medium with a QR code to start engaging my consumer with a coupon. And how do I do that? QR code, I'm gonna use the term, an NFT, coupon, digital wallets, they're coming. You get to do all of this now, and you have this incredible CRM onboarding path using this technology that's been around forever, but now we're gonna really use it and use the power of television to do all the right things to enable our clients to be ready for Web3 and be ready to do all of the proper attribution with consumer consented identity.
Yeah, we're gonna vote.
Everything's gonna be QR code.
Can I get back to one point
Yes,
in
please.
terms of attribution and outcome? I think that also speaks to the value of big data.
Yes.
Because we talk about for a long time, we're relying on small panels. And that really has disadvantaged premium video or premium TV industry.
Yeah.
And not just for accounting, because now for streaming TV or CTV is so fragmented.
Yeah.
You can't really rely on a small panel to represent local or geo or smaller viewership programs.
Yeah.
And then the other side is attribution, like they both mentioned. In order to really connect the dots, either direct attribution or incrementality, they really require robust sample size in order to
Gregory
test
has some
that.
solutions that he would like to talk to you about afterwards. Listen, we won't go a lot longer. I'd like to get a little closing comment from each of you. Kind of tell me, if we get back 24 months from now, what would be fixed that isn't working now? Maybe as a closing comment. And then I just want everybody to get the idea that this is also, we have all these young venture guys and gals building companies that are solving this. Like, where do we penetrate the organization to try to figure out? Like, we come and see PCON, it's pretty cool. We want to continue to do that because it's like this iterative learning process because it's going to. So we come back in 2 years, what's going to be different?
In 2 years, we are building multi-currency transactional systems. That will be, our goal is to be vendor agnostic. Obviously, we're not going to offer 10 or 20, but it's going to be
But you're
focused
going to have a
around 4 to
solution
6.
that will let Jeff spend all $15 billion at under cable time.
Yeah, that will be the goal, to really offer true multi-currency transactional environment, not just based on like age and gender, but also allow for advanced audiences.
So I'm going to put words in Jeff's mouth because he's going to say, I'm going to come back in 2 years and say, I got a weekend off. Once during the last 2 years.
I'm also gonna say pricing's gonna become realistic.
Tell them about the Nielsen pitch you got, I mean, the Netflix.
No, I won't do it. But
I don't represent that. Yeah.
pricing is, pricing's very different than it was traditionally, right? So I'm still transacting on a price point without sometimes knowing the amount of the audience, right? So talk about AVOD, which is where their ads appear versus SVOD, which is just subscription, right? So I don't want to see ads. And you're starting to see points of saturation. So whether it be Netflix, you saw their earnings, they were happy with, they didn't lose too many subscribers, right? Whereas last quarter they had lost too much. So maybe that 200 million, I think, was globally where they're at. Like, is that the point, right? So why is Disney now doing an ad-supported network? Because this creation of content costs so much, right? These companies are getting upside down. So why is NBC putting Peacock out there, right? And it's really to handle this content influx, because content's king, and how are you gonna pay for it? And so for me, right now, the pricing is so variable.
CPM pricing?
CPM, so generally, but
In premium?
yeah, in premium, right? But it's so all over the place, right? So people are like, what's premium? I'm like, well, you tell me. Because for us, it's Peacock, right? For my kids, it's YouTube from their phone streamed up to a TV or on an app on the thing, and I'm like, are you really watching somebody play a video game? And this is what they're doing. It's crazy. No, it's like, and they consider it premium, right? And so.
The little jerk meeting, you should teach your kids how to play that game.
Yeah, exactly. But they're learning how to play the game, right? And they're engaging in a different way. So we didn't even get into the attention method.
Right, yeah.
Like it's just like, how do I gather you to, so you make you pay attention?
How do you do that?
You mean measurement or the actual?
The actual, how do I get somebody engaged?
It varies.
Yeah.
Right?
QR codes.
It varies, and everybody in the world will give you a different opinion.
Yeah.
The general theme is, if I can gather you for, some people will say 3 seconds or 6 seconds is the completed view.
I hate that idea.
Yeah,
I think it's the worst thing.
yeah.
It just drives me nuts. Who cares?
Yeah, but in 2 years, like, I'm not, like, there should be more standardization around pricing and how it equates to audience size, right? Because there's a lack of clarity around audience size, who's seeing my ad, and a lot of times the ad, you're getting credit for ads that the TV's actually off.
Very good.
You know, so all these things are gonna fix themselves, I think, as technology gets better, measurement gets better. But there's no doubting the power of CTV. His stats showed it, our own behaviors show it. Like I'm rushing home to, sorry, I'm giving you from the Yankee game. Like, but that's why I go home. It's not to go watch a show like it was, oh, Friends is on, it's Thursday night, I gotta go.
We were young and drinking in town.
Yeah.
We didn't have kids.
Anyway.
Kelly, 2 years from now.
Jeff's gonna be very well paid.
Agencies, you need us though.
2 years from now, we're on a path. We will have measurement figured out. It's going to be okay. Okay, we're gonna figure this out. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna see a lot more, obviously we're gonna see a lot more consolidation, so it's gonna, TV's just reinventing itself. All this is a new distribution method. It doesn't, it's revolutionary and then not. We're literally reliving where we were with cable and, yeah, so this is all somewhat predictable. We're gonna get through it and manage it, and CTV obviously is gonna continue to grow. It's gonna be the only way TV is consumed. It's either gonna be scheduled or on demand, and we don't care how it's distributed.
Love it. You're right.
Well, definitely, it's gonna be an evolutionary process. Evolutionary process, eventually, right now, where compliance is more and more fragmentation. So today, how do we navigate all that fragmentation? We mentioned in terms of the esports, in terms of YouTube, in terms of streaming, in terms of connected, it's just, there are too many places to choose from in terms of reaching the consumer. How do you get to critical mass? But eventually, it's going to consolidate. I think part of the other side of this is in terms of evaluating what are the tactical elements that are driving the strategy. So, and the negotiation. In terms of premium placement, live is definitely a cornerstone. That's where I think the category is going to really shape itself in the next 2 years. It's live content, your platform, you're going to define yourself around engagement. That's going to be key. But there are elements around which it's going to be anyone's game. There's a lot of consolidation, change that's happening. We heard with Discovery and HBO Max, the ad-supported environment with Netflix and Disney Plus. We're going to have to navigate this.
Hey, Don, do we have just a couple minutes for questions?
Yes, absolutely.
If there's a bad one, I'm going to say you can answer. I saw that one first. Who are you?
John Bond.
Hi, John. Nice to see you again. Of course.
Guy.
Yeah,
Hello.
John Bond.
Okay, my question is, so Facebook ROAS fell off a cliff. Doesn't work for everything I've been involved with the last 6 months. First party data that you talked about, isn't that a real small percentage of my total? I can't build a business on that, right? Cookies are dead. What do I do about the cookie problem? If you're a brand now, tell me how to fix it, short term and long term.
QR codes.
Without QR codes.
So the reality of where brands are, right, is they're particularly our clients, very savvy. They know on a good day, their first party data maybe covers 30% of the audience they're actually trying to reach, right? So they are going to be dependent on audience augmentation and targeting that we are generating through these privacy-safe capabilities that we're building out with partners like NBC and others, and Disney and others, Roku, et cetera, you name it, we're building them out. So the reality of targeting is, it's still gonna be there, it's gonna look different. It's gonna look different, and it's gonna be consumer consented. And there's going to be a lot of untargeted media. That's just a reality. So that's what's going to happen. Is you're going to have highly targeted, focused campaigns, and you're going to have a lot of untargeted media that's meant to deliver tonnage and awareness. But the good news is I feel pretty good about how we're going to measure that for clients and how we're going to manage that going forward.
And you don't feel bad about Facebook following?
And I do not feel bad about Facebook following.
Question. Go. Who are you?
Douglas Allway. I am alum of NBC Universal. I was the division president there. And currently I own 2 urban/ethnic minority apps. And what are you doing, Jeffrey and Joffrey and Kelly, what are you doing in terms of allocating some of your ad dollars and buys to ethnically targeted OTT services, streaming services?
We actually have a wide variety of solutions for this, and it's interesting because there are a couple different ways to approach this. One is we have a dedicated creators network that is literally all we do is find ways to invest in small businesses that are diverse, certified, owned, and we find ways to invest those dollars intelligently.
And we also help those partners or those creators get certified themselves as part of a long-term strategy. We have a diverse PMP. So one of the things you find, unfortunately, with some diverse owned entities is scale's an issue, right? So how do we aggregate scale? We've created PMPs that actually are private marketplaces, that bring all that together to drive scale, and we actually allow clients to literally go direct their spend right there. In the OTT space,
Well, if you think about it, connected television is still very much dominated by very large media companies that are publicly held. But there's an opportunity there, right? So we're working with very diligently with specific media partners about enabling, and this goes back to brand safety, but to me it's more about diversity and inclusion and investing wisely. We need program level detail because we are working with partners like Gracenote to understand at the show level, what does your crew look like? What's your cast look like? How is this representation taking place? What is the authenticity? We're building all of those capabilities out right now, and we need NBCU to step up and provide that data set. We need everyone to provide that data set so we can make those decisions, because that is what our clients expect, and that's what we want to deliver. And that's how we make these promises real, right? You can't just have a bold goal and then have no plan of how to get there. We're working every day to make the data available to make these smarter buying decisions across the board. And we started with our private marketplace solution. We started with Diverse Creators Network from a social engagement platform perspective. But the next step is going after the big guys, and we got to make sure that we're doing what we want to do, looking at the program level detail, and making sure that that representation is there.
So how does a small OTT streaming player, Avon, get into your team?
I can make that happen. Let's talk.
So probably time for one more question if we got one.
Hi.
Hi. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Allie. I'm the founder of Chalice.
What is Chalice?
Chalice was named the best demand side technology this week at Exchanger Awards. Thank you. But we also best early stage technology company, 2 awards. But so we do custom algorithmic optimization to real business outcomes, and we do that across media types. And so my question relates to that. I haven't heard a lot about the optimization side of how all of these ads will get delivered, including so you're talking about them being delivered to audiences, but how do they get optimized inside of that audience delivery?
Like the old pod kind of
This is
thing?
me. You're saying this is me? Okay, so here's the fundamental reality of what's happening. A lot of the optimization is happening upfront with partners. So if we look at our optimization, it is on the planning side. optimization via private marketplace,
And programmatic.
less guaranteed, then the decisioning opportunity for real optimization
Just
exists.
back
And it's not even a shift, there's a fundamental reality that we do a lot of good on the buy side because we actually understand frequency in a way that NBCU never can. And we can deliver a better consumer experience because we're managing it across the board. So there will be a balance that is coming, and we will see much better consumer experience from a frequency perspective continuing when this shift takes place.
Yeah. So we met years ago with somebody that bought, it's a car thing at Progress, right? It's a car thing and all that. And we sat with Google, and they were like, we get the very best results for you, right? And they're like, we get the very best out of Google. And I just said, you were so full of shit, I can't stand it. And they're like, things like, don't use that language in front of them. They're on, tell them. Like, they're not optimizing for you. They're optimizing for 12 car companies that run on Google, right? You've got to figure out how you get the lion's share of that. And that's the shift. And I think you're going to see that. NBC, in a way, has an equal balance there and say, this is my premium inventory, and it's worth $50 to me, right? So there will be this idea of relative valuation, and we're kind of how performance marketing works. It was like, that spot is only worth this much to me because that's how many times you go there, right? And so this is really fascinating, and I think in 4 years when we come back, we'll all be younger and better looking, fitter, and this will be the thing we probably talk about.
But that's also the reason of data interoperability.
I think we're about to
by
get kicked out of the
sharing
room and everybody's drinks are dry, so if there's a tie-up, yes.
Interoperability.
Yeah, I mean, back to the point,
Oh, you're a
the
doctor.
reason
Here we go.
we're able
Oh.
to provide more visibility of at least our usage or consumption or ad data so that agency can take a holistic view across different platforms. Right, publisher will be able to optimize within our domains and properties the best we can, but then we're sharing data from like privacy safe
In
interoperable,
digital,
right?
listen, people buy optimizations for both buy side and they both spend for it.
I think your question's about real-time optimization, right? And
Right, data circulating through, not just being pushed out
Yeah,
or
there's
pushed
data
in.
there right now. It's a bit of a.
Meat shops.
Yeah, it's a bit of a set it and forget it. And that's an unfortunate thing, but it goes to the transparency piece, right? Like, and that's one of the things we're having with some clients as well, right? Because you're telling me this is digital, Jeff, you're telling me, yeah, but it behaves a little bit like this, but not all. So it's an issue unless you think I'm real, unless you think I'm wrong.
I always think you're
No, but like that's a big challenge, or it's a big challenge.
In 2 years, right?
2 years.
2 years.
So, if we could,